Welcome to another episode of Great Work Day with me, Ella Bates, your skills trainer. Our podcast is all about gaining more joy and better results in the workplace. And we're discussing today how to embrace the creative zone at work. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to my guest today, Dawson McManus. Welcome, Dawson.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, welcome. Let me tell you a little bit about Dawson. He's a dynamic multi-instrumentalist, songwriter and producer with over 20 years in the industry. He's a Mohawk College-trained jazz bass performer. He leads Electric Altar as a vocalist, songwriter and producer, bringing in his intense energy to his performances, known for his versatility. Dawson collaborates with top Canadian acts like The Bowie Lives and Sarah Jane Riley, providing bass, harmonica and vocals. His expertise spans from session work to scoring award-winning films, which you're going to tell me about shortly.
Sure.
Through his own podcast, 646 with Dawson McManus, he connects with other creators, offering fresh insights on all platforms and pet rock radio. I'm so excited to have you here.
This is exciting to do this. Thank you so much for asking me. I feel somewhat like a fish out of water having listened to your previous episodes. Everyone seems so, I guess, corporately qualified.
Yeah. And why does the workspace have to be corporate? That's the kind of social term for it, really, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I guess you grow up hearing your whole life, get a haircut and get a real job.
And isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and being able to pay your bills without having a real job is pretty sweet, but it does leave a little bit of an odd stigma, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair comment. And part of the reason why I invited you here today, because you aren't what would socially mainstream be a corporation, but you are the corporation of Dawson McManus, who has really dedicated yourself to your craft. So I want to tell our listeners how you came to be on this podcast today.
Sure, please.
So I first saw you at The Bowie Lives, and you and Jason White were in such a zone that I was mesmerised.
Oh,
absolutely mesmerised. And the first thing I said to you both when you came off the stage was, I told you this. And I've been thinking a lot since then how very little people I see in corporations, organisations, in their zone. So I'm here to tap into your secrets today. So my very first question to you is this. Can you describe the very first moment that you felt that deep, immersive zone while playing?
Not the first time. I can tell you what it feels like to be there, but
Please.
The first time I don't really recall. I remember the first gig that I played, and I knew I was going to do this forever.
Okay. Say more about that.
I was 14 years old. I was in a family band with my brother and my cousin, and we played at the Optimist Hall in Ennismore, Ontario. It was completely sold out, and when the lights went out, it was completely pitch black. There was probably, I don't know, maybe 120 kids that had come from the high school that we went to come see us play, and the place was deafening with them screaming before we even played a single note. And we were terrible, like just not good. But the response we got, still to this day, when I think about it, makes the hair on my arm stand up a little bit.
Yeah, I can see evidence of that.
Yeah, it just, and I remember looking over at my brother and my cousin and saying, I don't know about you guys, but this is what I'm doing the rest of my life.
Wow.
And I don't know if I could say I was in the zone there, but I maybe dipped my toe in it. As much as possible, I try to live there now.
Right.
So in order to be able to do that, it's very much like anything. You want to make muscle memory out of whatever your craft is. If you are a boxer, if you're a chef, if you are a scientist, it doesn't matter. It's all skill-based. And you run those skills over and over and over and over again so that when you're, I guess, in performance mode, at least if you're doing something in front of an audience, you want to have done it so many times that you basically press the play button in your brain and then your body does it for you.
Right. Is that what you call the creative zone, or is that the performance state? What's the difference?
Well, a performance state is something that you would have, I guess it can happen in a couple different ways. So if we take The Bowie Lives as an example, I would say 99% of that show is by rote. You do it over and over and over and over again, and you do not deviate from the records because it is a tribute show.
Right.
However, there is one piece called Lazarus that the end of that song is improvised to an extent. There is a certain block of time that you just kind of go, but there's a sandbox that you play within. The chord changes are the same.
Right.
So none of that's being improvised, but what you play over them is being improvised, and it's a bass solo and sax solo kind of simultaneous. And we have a set amount of time to do it, and there is there's a set transitional lick that is played to let everybody know we're coming out of this madness now.
Right.
And now,
get back to the process.
Yeah, exactly. And back to one, basically, if you'll take the expression.
No, let's say more about that.
Oh, so
back to one. Say
back
more.
to one, so that could be a beat. So the first beat of a measure, but also back to one, it's a chord progression. So it's the root chord, the tonic, or your home base, your tonal center is the one chord. So back to one, in a musical sense, could be either harmonically or it could be rhythmically structured, I suppose. Back to one, if you're talking in terms of theater, that's like the back to the top,
right.
And you could make that emotionally as well. Back to one, let's recenter. So,
which is that's where my brain went.
Sure.
That went back to collaborative space. Mm-hmm. Get out of your creative zone. You've done the brainstorming, now come back. Let's pull together as a team and get back into the process, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's emotionally too. I wonder if we do that regardless in any zone that we're in and anything that we're particularly passionate about.
I think so. I mean, I also teach, and which doesn't as often have the highs that performance does.
Fair.
But when you can feel and see somebody having the pieces click together, that's exhilarating for a couple of reasons. One, it makes you feel successful as an educator. Two, it reminds you of when it happened to you the first time, and you get to sort of vicariously relive that aha moment. And they feel good. They're exciting when you go, Eureka, if you
right.
That feels awesome. And then when you can help guide someone else there, that feels great too. And so I guess you could find that in anything. And the flow state is something that must be practiced like anything else. Like you have to find whatever your route to get there is.
Okay, let's rewind a minute for our listeners. Not everybody's heard of the flow states. What is that?
Well, from what I understand.
What is it to you?
Okay.
We don't have to be textbook here. What is it to you?
To me, it is when almost a second self takes over and you let that person take control and just do it for you because it's going to come out the best it possibly could when that self too is in the driver's seat. Is
that not an alter ego?
To an extent, yeah. I mean, which if you're
if
you're looking at performance, basically every time I get on stage, it's a character.
Yeah.
And usually a different one, depending on the act I'm playing for. I think the one that is closest to me is when I'm doing Electric Altar because those are my songs.
Right.
But even that is it's an exaggerated version of myself.
Right. Or is it the most authentic and vulnerable part of yourself too?
Well, lyrically, it certainly is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am definitely the most vulnerable when I write my own songs, and because I think authenticity really resonates with people, and it's also very cathartic.
Right. So if you bring your whole self into your work, no matter what it is, whether you work at a desk, business analyst, or holding a guitar in your hand, you're bringing your full self into that role, which is why you were selected in the first place, or why you chose it. So let's go back to you're 14, you've felt the magic. No, that's okay. No, don't apologize. This is great. You felt the magic.
Yes.
And you're like, I want more of this, and this is going to be the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Was it the feeling? Was it the creativity? Was it the sensation of helping other people? What was it that put you into that zone?
I kind of all of the above. There are songs and albums that are extremely important to me that got me through difficult times. Right. And the idea of being able to do that for other people was very, very intoxicating. Not to mention, you get a massive adrenaline and dopamine hit when you're on stage because it is scary. So there's cortisol as well, which that's like a stress hormone. But also, cortisol can be really helpful. That cortisol spikes when you exercise. And that's part of what helps with muscle growth. And so if you think of your brain as a muscle, which it is,
Yes.
if you have momentary cortisol spikes, that creates neural pathways, right? And that's what can help flip the switch from flight to or freeze to fight. And you can actually change that in your own mental chemistry, which is, it takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of repetition.
Right.
Which I guess is the same thing. It's a synonym. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. But just having that, oh yeah, that feeling of like that was scary but super rewarding.
Right.
That's addictive.
Yeah.
And
you hear that a lot from people who are presenting sales, for example. The first time they close a deal, the first time they get on the phone to a client cold call and they say, yes, let's bring you in. It's creating mastery.
Yeah.
When you have that chemical infuse. And I love that you had that at 14, which is so incredibly rare.
Yeah, I'm a pretty lucky dude. I would say I used to perform silly skits for my grandmother when I was really, really little. And she would always clap and cheer for everything we did. And so by the time I was probably, I don't know, 4, I knew I was going to be a performer. I just didn't know what kind.
Yeah.
And I've been an actor, I've been a musician, I've been a fighter. So, which all forms of entertainment, whether you think that fighting is creative or not, I would argue it is very creative. It's dangerous, but there's a lot of creativity to it. I knew I was going to be an entertainer. And so being able to make people feel happy while also being nervous but excited, and and then having people give you high fives and back pats is pretty sweet.
Right. that's the perpetual bonus that comes in. You don't have to wait until performance review. You are reviewed constantly.
Yeah.
People are listening to your podcasts. They're giving you reviews there. They're seeing you after a show. They're seeing you there. I love that. And people who work, so let's go back to the kind of corporate space. They want to feel that.
Yeah.
How do they do that more?
Well, if you're waiting for someone else to validate what you're doing, I feel like you're sitting in a rocking chair.
Oh, that's very powerful.
You're doing a whole lot of nothing.
Yes.
Validate yourself. Find what you think is interesting in what you do. And if you, especially when you're struggling in something, but you come out the other side, quote unquote, victorious, even if you had to have a lot of learning moments along the way.
Right.
You did it. You got through it.
Yeah. The hero's journey.
Yeah, right? Just like Beowulf, You come out the other side and, and not every time are you going to be as, infallible as he seemed to be in a lot of those tales. But,
right.
You're probably going to take a lot more bumps and bruises than that dude did.
But so what happens? So let's put in that situation. Most of the time you're in this creative zone, you're in this dedicated space, but then there's struggles that come with it. Where's the resilience? What is it you do outside of music to maintain that zone?
Outside of music, martial arts still. I started when I was 4. Actually, we're doing the podcast today now at 2 p.m. because I was training up until about half an hour ago, and I need that physical release. And I think everybody needs a hobby, especially if your hobby becomes your profession. Mm-hmm. Where are you going to get that release from? It's got to be something else, because as much as I absolutely adore being a musician, learning songs or creating songs or helping other people edit their songs, or even just coming in as a session player and only like the song basically already exists, but they need a guitar part or a bass part or a harmonica part or another vocal thing or whatever it happens to be, and they just want your little touch on it. Everything else already exists, but you're still creating in that. It's all still the job. And so if you want to get outside of that, you should probably have some kind of hobby.
And not everybody does. People go, they commute to work, they go to work, they do the work, they come home and they collapse and they eat and they watch Netflix. What's the danger of not having the martial arts, not having the side passion
personally?
For anybody?
Oh, for anybody?
Yeah.
Well, I can only tell you about myself, really, because I don't know what anyone else feels or thinks. I can extrapolate, but
Please.
For myself, if I don't have the martial arts, I have a shorter fuse. I don't sleep nearly as well. I struggle severely with depression, and I am not medicated other than using exercise. And by doing that, it regulates a lot of things for me. And I have spoken about this on air before with other people. It allows me to turn on light switches in those dark rooms so that it's not just pitch black. Now there's just little shadows, and I can deal with shadows. But if it's just darkness, it's a lot harder to navigate when you can't see.
Right. That's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that. That's very vulnerable.
Yeah, well, is what it is.
Yeah,
that's life.
and it's important.
Yeah,
and you found an area where you can excel in to bring the same level of cortisol and dopamine and all things you talked about from performance from a different perspective.
Yeah,
where you're not getting paid for it, but you are handsomely outside of money.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, the way that I sleep when I train really hard, and it's kind of twofold. Like if I'm physically exhausted from the martial arts and mentally exhausted from my profession, I sleep like a log.
I bet.
And that is worth its weight in gold, you know.
Yeah.
And then it also allows me to be more pleasant to be around, which also enables me to be a better husband and father, and that means a lot to me. You know, I adore my kid and my wife. They're awesome. They're my favorite people, and I want to be the best version of myself for them that I can be, and I will do whatever it takes to do that. So,
and thank you, and that's really admirable. So let's go back to the work of the music. What happens when you struggle with that? You can't just go and fight, or can you? Like, does that work for you?
Well, I mean, you can tell yourself to just suck it up and get the job done, but you're probably not going to get the best result out of that. What I try to do, even if I'm tricking myself, is I will look for what is interesting about it from an analytical perspective.
Okay.
I'll be like, okay, what is it about this harmonically or rhythmically or structurally or something like... If you pan for gold long enough, you'll find even just flakes. You know what I mean? Even if it's pyrite, that's enough for now.
Right.
You know, pyrite is fool's gold for anybody that doesn't know the technical term. I'm sorry.
So you're saying good is better than perfect?
Yeah. And, you know, also, like, do I want to have my lights on next month? Well, if I do, I better do the job.
Right.
So there's also that aspect of it. Like, it is the job, and it can't only be about what's gonna fulfill me 100% in this moment, because something else will come along that will.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And or I'll find something, or I'll make something that fulfills me, because if I can't get it out of the immediate project I'm in, or maybe if I've got nothing that's really getting me jazzed at the moment, I better build something.
And that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Right.
And but you can be entrepreneurial minded in the corporate space too.
Of course.
This is where initiative kicks in.
Yeah.
Can I better that project? Can I better that report? Can I create a better template? Can I come up with solutions and creative ideas for something that's broken? And I love that.
Yeah, and any way you can take, and I know it's considered a sin, one of the 7 deadly sins, to be prideful, but find something that you can be proud of when you do it, even if it is a slog to get there. When you come out the other end, if you're like, that's the best I can make that, then, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's no excuses. You're like, I did it, and this is what it is.
Yeah, celebrate all of it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Life's too short to be bummed.
This is very true. This is very true. And of course, you don't have, you know, your stereotypical leader following you, giving you a review, other than the audience, of course.
They're pretty honest.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
If they don't like it, you'll know. The very first time I ever played, sorry, just a super quick.
Please, no.
I got booed off stage the very first time I ever played out.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was 13 years old. I went to a youth community center, and I tried to play Good Riddance or Time of Your Life by Green Day.
Yeah.
And I
Great
wasn't
song.
ready. I was totally woefully unprepared, and it stunk. And all of those 13-year-olds let me know.
Oh, no.
Because they don't care if you cry calling your mom Colette to come pick you up. They're going to be like, boo! And they did. So, You know.
Wow.
And then you either give up, because that'll ensure it never happens again,
Right.
or you do the work and make sure that you never get booed again because people are too busy cheering.
Yes.
So-
I love to say that again. That's important.
Oh, okay, sure. You can do the work so that you can, if you want to make sure that nobody ever boos you, you can either give up, which now you have failed, because you don't fail until you quit, in my opinion.
Agreed.
You just learn. So you can either quit and fail, or you can practice so hard that nobody ever boos again because they're too busy cheering.
Wow. What a driver that is. I love that as a
Yeah.
compass. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no
Totally
problem.
quoting you, stealing it. You heard it here.
It's all yours.
I have a final question for you.
Shoot.
Young Dawson, let's imagine you're 10. You can go back and chat to young Dawson. Don't worry, this is not too deep, spiritual. What would you say to him? What do you know now? What would you teach him?
Teach him? I mean, do you mean musically or in life?
Just in life and what you know now from your work. Think career-wise.
You already know who you are. Don't waste time pretending to be somebody else.
I love that. I love that. And I felt a very visceral reaction from you. She said that. That's very powerful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very powerful. Well, thank you for
I don't
sharing
know what that means, but
Your body had a physical reaction to it when you said that. Yeah. And you know, and this goes out to everybody. Authenticity wins 100% of the time.
always, that's what resonates. People, I mean, and don't get me, like, sometimes fast food is what you need.
Yes.
But most of the time, if you cook it yourself, you're going to feel better.
You're just full of all the metaphors today. Dawson, you've been a pleasure to have on here. Thank you so much for being with us. It's been amazing.
Thank
Learn
you,
about your
Ella.
creative zone and the skills that get you there.
I hope that was what you were after.
100%.
Cool.
Whether it's an Excel formula or grabbing that guitar, you can get in the creative zone. You just have to build that resilience and have be mindful and intentional of bringing that joy into your work. So I love that. Thank you so much, Dawson.
Thank
And
you.
if you want to gain more joy and better results in your career, you can check out ellabates.com. Me, Ella Bates, I'm your corporate trainer, and how we can help you grow your skills with the confidence, capabilities you need to have a great workday every single day. And you can subscribe to more on YouTube, Amazon, iTunes, and wherever you listen to your podcast, to both this podcast and Dawson's 646 with Dawson McManus. Thanks for joining us.